Okay, so this next sketch is day number 6. So it looks like a couple stripes of paper across in the background, some frames and some florals with 2 3x4 pictures. And then it looks like a border, maybe a border piece. So this is by Sherry Loves to Scrap, and I am actually going to pull out my Botanical Buzz, I think, and use that. And so I'm going to go ahead and get started here. So I'm going to start by going through the different papers I have, and I am documenting a couple pictures of my son with a sunflower. Now, we did not grow that sunflower, so I don't know. We feed the birds, so I don't know if it was a sunflower seed that had dropped from, either bird droppings or a bird eating it or something. So, but it was really pretty and grew fairly tall. So, of course, my son was admiring it. So I'm just going through the different papers here. I was trying to pick out paper where I could still do the 2 strips behind it and then with the border, and I ended up opting not to do that. So I don't do the 2 strips of paper behind like in the sketch, and I also don't do the border around it. So and you can tell I'm having kind of a hard time picking papers here because it's like all of it's so pretty that it just sometimes it's hard to pick. Like you're like, do I want to use this one? Do I want to use that one? So I actually end up cutting out quite a bit of this recording because I ended up getting a phone call while I was recording and had no clue. And so when I went to edit this, I realized like it had cut out quite a bit of the footage. So I think I still get quite a bit in there, but so see, that's where I'm trying to do the couple strips of paper behind. And so initially I thought I was going to use this paper, but I was like, I just really like this one. And so I decided to pivot away and not do the 2 strips behind like in the sketch. So again, I'm trying to adhere as closely to the sketches as I can, but a lot of time, especially depending on what collection you're using or what you have in mind, to scrapbook, sometimes, the sketches don't entirely work for you. So I really did not want to cover up any of this mixed media paper, just too pretty. So I'm going to start pulling out some of these frames. These were in the die cut pack. It came with some yellow ones, which I've already used a couple of those. Came with like some brown, you can see those off to the right hand side, kind of like wooden pieces, and then kind of like almost like a blue kind of distressed wood piece. And I had such a hard time with these hexagon frames. I don't know if it's because some of it was getting lost behind the photograph, that it just kind of looked awkward. And the way that the frames were in the sketch, I was trying to kind of have like smaller ones, because the one like right here that I'm putting down, to me, at least in the sketch, looks a little bit smaller. And then the one that'll be behind the left photograph looks like it kind of hangs over into the right photograph. So in that aspect, I was really trying to stick with the sketch. I consider mounting these photographs, but quite honestly, a lot of time, I just don't want to take up more room and cover up more mixed media background, especially with like 49 and Market stuff. I oftentimes will not mount it on any additional paper because, again, the mixed media background's so pretty. Like, I just don't want to cover up more of it than I already am. So you can see I'm like really playing around with these frames. I tried the wooden ones, I tried the yellow ones, I tried these ones, and I'm just super unsure about it. I really need to be aware too, like I keep pulling this sheet down. Since I got that new glass board, I need to be more aware of where I am when I'm filming, because I kind of didn't realize I was that far down. So I really need to like take and just put the magnets on it, and then that way that'll keep me from moving it off frame. So, I mean, like I'm being pretty nitpicky here, but I just, I felt like some of the ways that I was putting the frames in, it just kind of looked awkward, you know, because you lose part of that hexagon behind the picture, so. And see, I'm trying different size frames because it comes in a big bunch. So, you know, graduates down. I actually think I need to get online and order some more of the laser cuts because I've gone through quite a bit of laser cuts. I mean, I feel like especially like with 49er Market stuff, like when you're layering the florals and stuff and the laser cuts, I feel like you can go through your laser cuts pretty quickly. Plus they're just so pretty. Like it's like I want to pull out all of them, and I could use like a whole pack of laser cuts, I think, on one layout. Although that would probably get a little busy, but still. So you can see I'm still totally fussing around with these hexagon. I almost considered, like I had cut away from this and I end up going and looking at some different collections because I'm like, well, would I rather have like more rectangular frames in this instead of the hexagon? But quite honestly, I just really thought, and I even considered like changing the pictures because I really like the pictures with this color palette because I felt like, you know, his shirt's green. And then of course the yellow sunflower, there's a lot of green and yellow. And then you can see a little bit of the blue in the background from our pond. So I just really felt like the color palette of this collection really closely matched the pictures. And so I'm like, you know what, I'm gonna make the hexagons work. We'll get it figured out here. So I had decided to quit fussing with the hexagon pieces so much. And I'm like, let's just start getting some florals on here and see how I feel about it then. Because I feel like 49 Market's laser cut, especially their florals, but any of their laser cuts can hide a multitude of sins, in my opinion. I really feel like they're geared to really make a page really beautiful without a lot of effort. So that's one thing I love about 49 Market. It's just it kind of it just, as much as like I sometimes am paralyzed to even start on a 49 Market page just because the base paper is already so pretty, like I don't want to cover a lot of it up. That can kind of sometimes paralyze me a little bit with my decision making because I don't want to cover up a lot of it. But I feel like really it's geared to truly make scrapbooking easier for you because it's like all the mixed media, the layering, all that's already done for you. So. And I decided that little honey jar would just look really cute there on the right-hand side. I was going to try to work in that little, I don't know if that's considered a bird feeder or like, you know, one of the bee, what are they called? Bee skeps? Am I saying that right? I don't know. I don't know if it's supposed to be that, so. But I just felt like that piece was maybe a little bit too bulky. I like this guy, and I decided, you know what? It looks really good kind of by this jar, so. And I really wanted to get this pot of sunflowers on there because most of the flowers I feel like are daisies or, you know, kind of some variation of that. And I was like, well, this is really the only pot that I see of sunflowers, or, you know, where to me it looks like sunflowers. I don't know if that's what they're supposed to be, but I really did not feel like I could find a good spot for them. But I do end up figuring that out and getting a good spot for those. So I really wanted to get those worked in. And you can see here, like, I'm just so unsure, like, because it's all so pretty, like, I find myself sometimes just hesitating a lot because I'm like, ooh, I like this. Ooh, I like that. And then the next thing I know, I've got, like, all these laser cuts popped out. I did make a mistake when I first started doing 49 Market stuff. I had taken a bin, popped all of the laser cuts out of, like, the, you know, the housing there, and it was a bunch of different collections. I had them all in like a container, and I'm like, it was so overwhelming. So I ended up finally going back through and getting them all organized based on like season, collection, things like that. So now I'm trying to kind of just keep it in that packaging and then popping them out as I need them. So I decided to add a hexagon up there and then one at the bottom just to kind of make those hexagon frames make a little bit more sense. I will change the ones up at the top because I didn't like how spaced out it was in the middle. Like, to me, for some reason, visually, that just looked awkward. So you will see that get changed out. I decided on a bigger floral cluster down here. And I had a ticket down here initially that I kind of liked there, but that ticket will end up going away too. That doesn't make the final layout. And I had like a little bit of fence post still left over from the laser cut. So I had already done a layout using it and had trimmed some of that away. So I'm like, let me just get that used up. And so you can see here, I've cut away because, of course, the filming had stopped. I did not realize that. So you can see that I put a bigger frame up at the top left, a bigger frame at the top right, and then kind of moved it all a little bit more closely together. Added the chipboard title, and then I added some puffy sticker hexagons and a couple rub-ons, so that Follow Your Heart is a rub-on. There's like a little quote down there that's a rub-on right there, and then Find Your Happiness. So I really feel like it turned out really cute, as much as I kind of struggled initially. And I will include the playlist for those who are playing along on YouTube, and there's also a Facebook group. I appreciate you for coming by to watch another process video.